You're watching the Bloomberg Law Bankruptcy Review. I'm Lee Pacchia. Joined now, as always, by Bloomberg News bankruptcy columnist Bill Rochelle. And we have a special guest today, Andrew Gottesman from Secondmarket. He runs the bankruptcy claims trading desk there. Welcome to you both. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So, Andrew, wanted to get your view on the world. You have a very interesting job working in the bankruptcy claims trading space. Want to know what drives your world. Understandably, a lot of what happens in your day-to-day depends on what happens in the bankruptcy courts. But I was wondering if it's ever the opposite. Does events in the bankruptcy claims trading space ever impact what happens in, say, bankruptcy court or some other litigation out there?
Sometimes. I mean, there are investors that buy bankruptcy claims to impact what happens in the bankruptcy court. For example, you could use bankruptcy claims in order to buy a blocking position and be able to control a class whereby a class wouldn't be able to vote for a plan or, would vote in a way that you were directing. Sometimes you see people that have bought a bunch of claims get involved in in plan litigation. So you do see that. I mean, it's not typical, but it does happen.
One case that we've been talking about a lot on the Bankruptcy podcast as of late, of course, is MF Global. It's been busy not only in the bankruptcy courts, but you've been seeing a lot of action there as well. What's jumped out at you over the last couple of weeks there? Well,
I mean, I think it's the volume in MF Global. I mean, volume has kind of really ticked up in the last few months. I mean, if you look at what was trading kind of the end of last year, it was 1 trade, 7 trades for, ultimately, a few $1 million here and there. In the last 2 months, it has been over 100 trades, over 150 trades, and well over $100 million in face value that's changed hands.
Are you talking about claims against the broker, in other words, customer claims, or other kinds of claims?
Yes, almost exclusively the customer claims. And there are claims that trade against the parent company, but the majority of what's trading is against the broker-dealer. And a lot of those are what we call 4D claims, which are claims where cash was segregated for trading exclusively on U.S. commodities exchanges. Now we're starting to see other kinds of claims where cash was segregated for commodities trading on foreign exchanges. We're starting to see those trade more, and we're starting to see trades against the trades and the claims against the UK entity, MF Global UK, also now. So I think people are starting to widen what they think is going to happen.
Are claims against the parent bringing any price to speak of, or is it bupkis?
It doesn't compare. I mean, the pricing on claims against the broker-dealer is 3-4 times what it is against the parent.
Yeah, sure, because they've already made major distributions for the broker.
Exactly.
With more on the way.
Wanted to talk about Madoff claims. They dropped last week. I can't figure out why. What accounts for this shift?
There's any number of things potentially, but one thing that is a piece of news that came out today, but I think it was something that people generally expected, was that there were a number of clawback actions where the defendants sought to remove those actions from the bankruptcy court to the district court and be heard in front of Judge Rakoff. Judge Rakoff allowed that or signed an order kind of letting that happen today. So he removed I think there were about 400 cases that ended up in front of him, including some very big ones involving ABN AMRO and a few other ones.
Yeah, that had me very curious because nothing that Rakoff did was unexpected. He had telegraphed those punches weeks, if not months ago. And that, to me, was not enough to explain the movement in the pricing. In fact, a lot of what the judge did was not only expected, but also adverse to the defendants. So I'm just wondering if there is something that's going on there that doesn't meet the eye. However, one thing you said, though, that may have something to do with it is, and this is a real biggie, too, by the way, Rakoff is going to decide whether U.S. fraudulent transfer law can be applied to transactions or transfers that took place abroad. So if he cuts off fraudulent transfer clawbacks at the shores of the United States, that is very important for not only Madoff customers who are going to get less, but also huge, important new bankruptcy law.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the extraterritorial effect of a lot of the U.S. bankruptcy code has been a situation that's been in flux in front of bankruptcy judges and district court judges for a long time. And I think Judge Rakoff has made it pretty clear that he has a particular view of the utility of the bankruptcy code overseas, as well as, the power of the bankruptcy courts here.
Yeah.
And I think part of his kind of finality in taking those cases is what would account for some of that drop.
Well, at the end of the day, one of the more interesting aspects of trading in Madoff claims is you can bet against Rakoff because most of his rulings really basically are depressing the value of claims. But if you're willing to sit back and wait for about 2 to 3 years, which is how long it's going to take to get all these issues up to the Second Circuit, if the Second Circuit reverses, and I think there's a good chance they will on some of these issues, the value of those claims is going to go up perhaps to 100%, if not 100% in interest. So I think there's a lot of money to be made here if you're a really gutsy person who thinks Rakoff is goofed.
And finally, there's, of course, the big Megillah. We can't get out of the program without talking about the Lehman Brothers case. For the last couple of years, Lehman, from at least our perspective on the Bankruptcy podcast, it's been supporting the market for bankruptcy claims trading. What happens after Lehman is no longer in the system? Is it going to be some other case, or what's going to happen?
Well, first of all, I think it will be other cases, but I think that's a while down the road. One thing I think that a lot of people don't realize is that, there were still stubs on Enron claims trading not that long ago.
Really?
And Enron was an awful long time ago. So, these things can have tails for 10 years, for even longer, because if there are still distributions coming out, there's still an opportunity to make money if you can buy something at a price that's going to give you a return.
Andrew, a question for you. In a case like Lehman with a very liquid market, does a claim trade once and that's it, or is it likely that a claim may trade several times?
Well, I think there's a couple of different flavors of that, right? So, yes, I think there are claims that now we're seeing trading more than once. People who have gotten their first distribution understand that the market has actually improved on Madoff claims and believe there's a way to make money, so now they're selling what they bought. I think there's another flavor of that where you have a lot of people who are buying, you have a lot of large broker-dealers who are buying Lehman claims for inventory and are selling them on to hedge fund clients and other kinds of end investors. So I think you have kind of both flavors of claims trading twice.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
That's Andrew Gottesman and Bill Rochelle. If you'd like to learn more about the cases and issues we just discussed, be sure to check out our offerings on BloombergLaw.com and also on the Bloomberg Terminal. You can see more of our videos on YouTube and follow our updates on Twitter. I'm Pacchia. Thanks for watching.